Buster. Thanks, Buster. Father Simon and Matt and Sister Susie. I have decided to finally tell my tale after 14 years. My request for redemption dates back to 2008. During this year, my wife and I were on one of our semi-regular trips to Australia, and on the return journey, we stopped off in Beijing. Our hotel there was extremely nice, and on the first morning we descended downstairs to see a rather lavish spread with everything one could possibly want for breakfast. Having been lucky enough to stay in some very nice hotels, coupled with the fact that I, in particular, am pretty tight when it comes to spending, I decided that taking a few items from the aforementioned spread for lunch later on would not be something the hotel would object to, particularly given it was an all-you-can-eat affair. I should say, I suspect that a number of people have done similar to this. I should say that upon attending such breakfasts with a layout, we first of all survey what is available and come up with a plan of attack, if you will. On this occasion, we had been shown to our table on first arrival, noticed that the table next to us seemed not to be taken, apart from a napkin on the table. On our return from our initial recce of the breakfast, I saw that we were a couple of items of cutlery short. So after a look around, I took replacements from the adjacent table, just as the couple came back to their table with their breakfast items. At this point, my wife's stares were a sight to behold. Given our location, there was something of a language barrier, which probably made my explanation to them a little lame. What with them not speaking English, and it actually being
Beijing
in China. However, having explained, with the help of a waiter, that taking cutlery from other tables in England is a form of respect.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I got away with it. They did look somewhat bemused, though, but they bowed to us, shaking their heads at the same time. I don't know, I'm sure that's
Quite
significant.
well done. Yeah.
I did think of bowing in return, but had visions of the famous Mr. Bean scene with HRH the Queen, so I decided against it. Having decided to borrow a few items of the food for lunch then, I proceeded to have several trips to the buffet, each time bringing something new as a tasty lunchtime snack. I managed to get several extra napkins to stash our swag and transferred the food with stealth and aplomb from plate to napkin to rucksack on a regular basis.
Okay.
Boy, we were good at this.
Yeah.
The looks on the faces of the waiting staff was rather amusing. I don't think they could decide how we were shifting food at such an astonishing rate, or perhaps why so many napkins were disappearing so quickly. As I said, we were very good. No one could see what was going on. However, I cannot really account for what I did next. Another visit to the buffet revealed some rather nice-looking hash browns. Large hash browns. Size of your hand. For an inexplicable reason, I decided to put one in each trouser pocket. Now, this would maybe have not been quite so bad had it not been for the fact that they were incredibly hot.
Of course. Ooh. Yeah.
On return to our table and with a rucksack full of napkins and lunch, we decided to depart breakfast. As we prepared to go, our neighbouring table, now with a fresh complement of cutlery, stood to bow again, signalling to me an acceptance, I thought, of my earlier shaky explanation. As I prepared to bow in return, I felt as though I was truly integrating into the customs of this fabulous country. However, in my haste to do this, it momentarily slipped my mind that the still incredibly hot hash browns were in my pockets, and that one of my pockets had a considerable hole in it. So as I bent from the waist in deference to my fellow diners, the hash browns squashed where one would not wish them to go, then oozed in a way I would not wish them to ooze.
Oh, dear.
Ouch.
Only this explained the strangled noise of excruciating pain that was coming from my smiling face. This, I realise now, appeared rude and culturally inappropriate. Clearly they were shocked and appalled. So really, double forgiveness please from your team. One, to my fellow diners for stealing their cutlery and squealing like a castrated pig. Two, to the hotel for having lunch on them. I suppose the hash brown injury was penance for my indiscretions, and my wife found it extremely funny. By the way, we didn't eat the hash browns.
No. No.
And you should know that my limp disappeared after a week or so. We had breakfast elsewhere the next day at my wife's insistence, and we bought lunch. Anyway, that's Buster's tale. I suspect there might be a number of people who've tried to help themselves to the buffet, but if there's a moral, Don't put boiling hash browns in your pocket, particularly if you're then going to bow and they're going to leak in places that they should not
No
leak.
one-
Sister Susie, voice of authority.
No one wants that. Well, Buster, I just think you were a little bit greedy, weren't you? You know, everyone
yes.
takes a little bit to maybe have a bit later, but fill in a bag and then your pocket.
An apple might be one thing, or a banana.
Yeah, it's just a bit too much. So therefore, I can't forgive you. I'm afraid you were too greedy.
Sounds like you had like a waffle in each pocket. Brother from another
I
gutter.
love all-you-can-eat buffets. I mean, it is all-you-can-eat, I suppose, all-you-can-carry, obviously. But, when I go to them, never, ever fill up on bread. Rookie mistake. Never, ever have the bread. But, maybe the Chinese guests knew that it is indeed a sign of respect to stick hash browns down your pockets and will have taken it as that. So I think everyone was fine in the end.
Do you think?
So I'm going to forgive.
What a tolerant man you are.
I am.